Hello and welcome everybody back to American Truck Simulator. We're going to begin this second episode with where we left off. We're basically trying to earn our way up to our first truck. Um, we have a couple rules that have been established. We are not going to take out any loans. We're going to try to earn this the hard way. So let's get started. So these are the type of contracts we're looking for. Like this one here, it's $12,000. So let's take this job. This will actually make us a good chunk of change. And to take us up into Idaho the first time. So we visited all three of the states that neighbor, the three of the 5 states that technically neighbor Utah. After this episode, we'll have visited Nevada in on our second run, visited Wyoming on our first, and now we're heading up into Idaho with this mission here, and we're gonna get pretty darn close to the Montanan border, but we're not gonna go over the border. So this mission it starts off in Ogden and heads up north. Ogden, Utah was the city where the railroad came to in the 1860s and 1870s when they were building the Transcontinental Railroad. And from here it headed out west across the Great Salt Lake. And of course, that's where Promontory Point and all that is. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. I've always gotten that one wrong. And that's where they laid the famous Golden Spike, where the railroad that connected east and west was laid into being. So a little history about the state of Utah. Utah was inhabited by Native Americans for the most part, well up into the 1840s. It wasn't really settled until 1847 when Brigham Young and his band of Mormons, as it said, came through. Oh, you're going to give me a ticket for no headlight usage. Okay, we'll fix that. And that's basically how Utah got its start. It was originally going to be called the state of Deseret, but the U.S. federal government was not going to let that happen. All things considered, they didn't want the Mormons becoming too powerful, was their excuse. They feared that had they had gotten their way, which by the way, had they had done so, they would have taken the entire state of Utah, the entire state of Nevada, and places like Los Angeles would be part of Deseret today. Oh, this is not a turn spot. Okay. So if you really think about it, the Mormon pioneers were rather powerful out in the West during this time. But 1847 is when they settled the valley. Back at the time, the valley was owned by Mexico, and honestly, just a few short years later, with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, all of this territory became part of the United States when the United States annexed it for a grand total of $15 million. Okay, we gotta wait at this light now. Come on. So like I said before, this game's actually a game where I like to relax. It's a good thing for me to talk, a good game that I could talk to, and just you know, shoot the crap, as they say. My day job is a lot harder than playing video games and streaming. That is for sure. I was about to run that because I could see that arrow there, but the arrow is for that turn lane. And it is our turn anyway, so we're off. So this should be Interstate 15, remember correctly. This will take us up north. This is 15 and 84, so 15 heads up north to the Montana border, whereas 84 will take you up through Boise and head toward Portland. And for those of you who who live in Portland, I feel for you. That city, the streets there are some of the most, really some of the most messed up streets to navigate in the entire country. Whoa. Way to go, buddy. You know, I've got double trailers and you did that crap to me. This thing's not a powerful beast. The truck that we're going to get is going to have a lot more power than this thing. I don't know if I'm going to go with a Kenworth. I really don't know if I want a Kenworth. Peterbilt's great, but in this game, I'm looking at what they have available. It's really not the best. Once again, I did forget to activate the mod for Amazon and all that to be in the game. When I cut this stream out here in about an hour, and yes, we can bypass. Hooray. I'm all over the road here, so I'm trying to set a timer. There we go. And now the headlights are on. Okay, so I see the problem here. And you can see this thing is a gutless worm. We're barely doing 50 miles an hour. Just passing through 1100 South. All right. Watch out, that guy there looked like he was going to come right into my lane. And we're just getting up to speed. We're now doing 61 miles an hour. It's starting to get, it's a little bit on the dark side. It's starting to get dark. We're 6 hours from destination. I don't think we have to worry about sleep yet because we don't own our own truck. Well, since we're already in this lane, we're just gonna plow right on through. And then everybody's hitting their brakes as we get over here, so we need to get over. They want us on this other highway here. All right. Now, dual trailers are a pain in the butt. Some states in real life don't allow more than two. For instance, if you ever go to California in this game and you're pulling a tri-trailer, that's illegal in California. You can't pull more than two trailers in the state of California. It's a law. Whereas most of the other states of the West, triple trailers are just fine. Please tell me you're going straight. You are, sir. Thank the Lord for that. But then again, this thing being as slow as it is, it probably wouldn't matter. Oh, so there must be an accident there on the highway. That's why it's having me take this route. I don't understand why it would do that, 'cause now that takes me off the highway just to put me back on the highway. Makes no sense. Unless that section of the highway is closed for some odd reason. And get back on the highway toward Pachalico or whatever that is. Didn't really see it very well. Whoa! And let's break the rental on the on our first trip. Yes, that's a good idea. Just how much did we do? Oh, that's right. It's a rental. We can't do damage to rentals. Yeah, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I can't wait for that to come into the game where we can do the bandit run. I guess that's a real question, though. Is Texarkana, Texas in the game? If it's not, it needs to be added when they add Arkansas. But we're at least a couple years away from that. Well, hopefully they'll get to a point where they start adding these smaller states, that they can add multiple states at the same time. But we're not quite to that point yet where that's going to start happening, because that is the one thing that most people don't realize. The West Coast states compared to East Coast states, the West Coast states are pretty big. They're huge compared to East Coast. And it looks like, yes, we do have to worry about sleep. I can see that bar growing. But we're going to push right on through the night and get to our destination and collect that paycheck. And hopefully another level. That way we can start transporting more expensive goods. Yep, there's the cat playing with something. You can see we're really pushing it as hard as we can, and we're barely able to get above 55. This truck is gutless worm. It's modern, though, I'll tell you. I like it. And the company that owns it's had it for a while. 471,000 miles is quite a bit. So this is an older vehicle. Alright, we are now finally getting up to 70 miles an hour, which is the speed limit. We should be already in Idaho, but I'm not sure. I want to say that we are, but I missed the sign if we are. We're 5 hours and 6 minutes from our destination. It's not too far. Now, yeah, I've seen some comments, particularly when it comes to Utah, Oh, the salt flats aren't big enough. It doesn't do them any justice. Well, you gotta remember the salt flats, like I said in the last episode, they're only 45 miles across. It's only 45 miles or so. And this game is going to take it down to 1/20 at that scale. And then, of course, yes, we had to get called into the way station. Let's just make it so that this thing can't get moving again. Half the time, sometimes, and I've done this before, you just bypass it, but it's $1,000. It's a $1,000 ticket in the game. And this early on, $1,000 goes a long way. Because we're technically a long way from those big loads that are going to make us a lot of money. This is why this thing's slugging 94,000 pounds. It's actually heavier than the actual road limit, which is only, I believe, 80,000 pounds. They may have special rules for 2 and 3 trailers, but I'm not aware of that. Luckily, we're able to get on this highway without having any issues. Pocatello, so I believe, if I remember correctly, this is in Idaho, so we are in Idaho. One way to check. Not the up key. Down? It is down. Yeah, so we're already in Idaho. Now this thing is a gutless worm. Come on. Slow slug. Eventually we'll have a truck with more horses, 500, 600 horses. It won't struggle with this type of a load. It'll pull it, it'll go quick. And that's going to be the day when we get to that point. That's going to be awesome when we do get to that point. We're a ways away from that. So we have to face facts and deal with what we have to deal with for now. And we're honestly not going to start making any real money truly until we get our own truck. We'll probably pull another 5 or 6 loads, and then we'll have our own truck. Like I said, we don't want to deal with loans because those end up costing you in the long run. And not to mention, that's part of this challenge that I'm doing, is that I'm not using any loans at all. Alright, we actually made speed limit. Just to be bumped back down to below speed limit. Alright, we're moving now. 213 miles from destination. I think right around 73. Yep, we're going to hit that cruise control and let the cruise control pull us now. It's now the middle of the night. According to our thing here, it's 1:16 in the morning. should be coming up on Idaho Falls here pretty soon. And that's going to be our turnoff, so we're going to kill our cruise control in 3, 2, 1. Let this thing start coasting back down. We're in Idaho Falls now. We're going to make our turn off the freeway. I'm kind of glad that guy stayed back. I don't want to hit him. All right. 35, man. I want to go faster than that, but we could take it for now. 35 is not that bad. We can actually make the speed limit to this one. All right. It's 50 now, so let's get it up, but we are coming up on our junction to Highway 20. We're going to want to begin slowing. Now that is unrealistic right there. Truck in real life would not stop on a dime. I don't know what you guys are up to. You all come to a stop. I'm just going to cut right in front of you then. I'm not in the mood of playing games with those guys. All right. Yeah, so the ones we want to keep increasing on right now, we want to keep increasing our distance of travel that we can do. And we want to keep increasing the more expensive goods. And maybe even start working on the heavy license, heavy loads. Hauling heavy can make a lot of money, but I don't know if it does under contract. I know that it does when you have your own rig. You can make good money doing that. You might as well merge over because the merge lane's merging out right here. 3 hours and 26 minutes, it says. Well, so and that's the sad part. We get to travel through Idaho in the dark. So we really don't get to see much of anything because of that. Now, everybody knows that Idaho is the potato capital of the world. But most people don't realize it's another one of those Mormon settlements. And this is a real big thing in this time. Big thing in the state of Idaho, particularly this part of Idaho that we're in, because you're in what's called the bubble. That's what the Mormons call it. And that's the truth. It's basically there's a lot of churches here. There's a lot of temples in this area that are LDS. And the faith has a couple colleges in this area. You got BYU Idaho, which is up near Rexburg, which isn't too far from where we're going. I don't know if Rexburg's in this game. I don't think it is. It might be a satellite community if it is. I keep hitting that one. I want the map, which is not something we should be worried about right now. Traveling through the mountains. I'm traveling on these a little bit of a windy road. This is not anything mountainous at all. I mean, where I live, there's definitely quite a few windy roads in through the mountains. And I know some of my East Coast friends get mad at me when I tell them they don't know what true mountains are. Idaho Falls. So yeah, Idaho Falls, this is where Rexburg would be in real life, is up in this area. So we actually have already passed through that area. Now we're going a bit over the speed limit here. We get spotted by a cop, we're getting a ticket. And we're coming up on a gas station and a speed limit 35, so let's really start kicking that down. This is US 93, okay. And I've been on US 93 in the state of Nevada in real life. Not up in Idaho though. And I could say pretty much you're not missing much for those of you who've never been out there. It's really nothing out in that area of the country, that part of Nevada. The two major population centers in Nevada are Las Vegas and Reno. With Las Vegas, of course, being the larger of the two. They're approaching 2.5, 2. They're somewhere right around 2.3 million, I think it is, or something like that. Whereas Reno and its suburbs are just a little shy of 500,000. But then if you throw Carson City and a few others in there that are around Reno, then it does shoot above 500,000. But most of the Nevadans live within those two areas, the Reno Carson Metro or the Las Vegas Henderson Metro. Okay, this guy in the cement truck, he's probably going to pick up a lot faster than me here because this thing doesn't have the guts. 2 hours and 5 minutes from destination, in game time that is. They're saying 5:19. We are right now at 3:16. Pushing on through. Less than 100 miles to go. Now, I've never been to eastern Idaho, and I have been to western, and I can tell you that western Idaho is definitely a desert, but very gorgeous, particularly around Boise, where I had to go for a job interview a few years back. Nothing like Oregon or Washington, the western portions of that state. And that's something a lot of people don't realize about those two states, that the west is very green and the east is very much a desert. Matter of fact, the Great Basin, which is one of a few places in the world where water does not exit and head to the ocean, which, by the way, Utah and Nevada both, for the most part, especially northern Utah and almost all of Nevada, are in the Great Basin. Which is this valley that you can't. I shouldn't say valley. A series of valleys and mountains where where the water can't leave. It has to leave through evaporation. So all the rivers that are in these areas pour down through from the mountains, end up in either a big lake that is benign or salty as it is. Lakes like Pyramid Lake and the Great Salt Lake and Mono Lake and Walker Lake have more salt content in it per liter than the ocean. And because there's more salt content, you're more buoyant in those waters. Because most people don't realize this, salt water is far less dense than fresh water. It actually drops quite a bit compared to fresh water. So it's just a common thing of physics, and it has to do with the fact that when you got salts that are dissolved within the fluid, it changes its properties. And those take up space, and sodium and chlorine together are lighter than the oxygen and two hydrogens. Actually, I may have that wrong. I probably should look that up before I say that again. Chlorine is a second tier element, so it is heavier than oxygen. And sodium it's in the second, it's in the third, it's in the same rung. So it might be heavier, but since it's ionized, which means basically it's an ion where you have a cation and an anion. And those two separate, which basically separate when dissolved in water, only coming back together when the water evaporates. But since it does that, and it has that little tweak of chemistry there, it really changes the way things, the way the water sits together, so it can't get as compact. And that's why salt water tends to, when fresh water is dumped into a saltwater basin, the fresh water tends to sink. Oh, look it, it's starting to get light. Then again, it is, after all, almost 5 a.m. And we are now up into the base of the Rockies. Oh, come on, you slow tug. That is something that I'm not too happy to see. This section of highway doesn't have any passing lanes. Because if there would have been a passing lane there, I would have passed this guy. And we had the momentum to overtake him. And now we got to fight the heel behind him and hopefully hope we don't catch up to him again, which is likely. But yeah, water is it's an interesting molecule, because most atoms and molecules, when you go from a gas to a solid or gas to a liquid, you gain density. Your density goes up, which is the same thing with water, but normally the same thing happens when you go from a liquid to a solid. You get more dense, become more dense, but with water, it's the other way around. It's at believe it or not, water is its most dense at right around 4 degrees Celsius, which is, let's see here, right around 38 degrees Fahrenheit. So, actually, I got that wrong. Please. Oh, there is someone coming. How wonderful. Well, I got that wrong. 4 degrees Celsius, that's going to be another 8. So, yeah, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah. And that's when water's at its most dense, which if you had 1 cubic meter of the stuff, it would weigh 1,000 kilograms. If you warm it up, it becomes less dense. If you cool it down, it becomes less dense. And that's one of the reasons why ice floats. Whereas most other materials, their solids will sink right through the liquid form and then begin, of course, absorbing the energy from the liquid around them, heating up and potentially melting themselves. Well, we are almost at destination here. Not very far now. Another 8 miles, so we're coming into town. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like it's right over here. So, salmon, huh? I wonder if they actually have salmon that swim up the Snake and the Columbia River and Snake River to get here. And that's why they call this town Salmon. But I don't know. All right, so let's take a look here. Okay, we're almost to destination. Looks like it's off to the left. Took us about 30 minutes to make that delivery. That's not too bad. A little over 30 minutes. I try to get through this with him. Hopefully, I don't know where he's going. Oh, ours is right across the way. Where's he going? Where is this guy? He's turning. Okay, so we're cutting through. And our destination is dead ahead. Let's see where they want us to put it. We want to get as many points as we possibly can. All right. Okay, I think we can do that. So I am thinking about doing a live stream on my other game, Satisfactory. The only problem I have with that game right now is that it likes to crash a lot. Okay, it's not going to let me do it. It's behaving like a butt. Let's see here. Did we get enough points to go through? We did. Continue. So see this high value cargo. The higher reward always comes in handy. Fragile does the same thing as well. This is another one that's good to go for. Let's go for high value 2 today. Alright, so this should theoretically give us a little bit higher of a yield. You can see Salt Lake to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, which is not too far. 38 cents, 38 bucks per mile. That's not bad. It's very mountainous. I think we'll take this top one. There's more money in that. And we're hauling a piece of equipment this time by the looks of it. Yes, we are. So this is only going to become more valuable as we get further along. This is the Kennecott mine again. Okay, there's our headlights. We want those on. And this is not going to be fun for the trailer. Oh boy, that's going to be close. Yeah, these hairpin turns are not the easiest to navigate. Usually in real life, just like we do in this game, you have to wide turn them. At least this truck's got some power to it. All right. And this will probably be our last load of the night because I don't think we're going to get another one. Oh, this one's actually got the sleeper, which is nice. Eagle, huh? Yeah, we're breaking the speed limit. We're just actually coasting. We're not even hitting the brake. We're not hitting the gas. We're just coasting on into the valley here. Gotta get out of the ogres. I'm on activate. We're gonna signal that we are making that right turn. I gotta remember with this unit on back, we cannot back up. Because essentially we have ourselves a unit that is it's basically like a wagon because of the connector. It's not hard pointed in, and you wouldn't want that on a trailer anyway. Not if you have back wheels, that would cause issues. But they do this a lot in the real world because it gets the weight off of your tires and allows for that extra control of for pivoting these larger loads. And we're already hauling, moving pretty quick here as we come into Salt Lake. Don't cut me off, dude. You almost got rear-ended because you're going too slow. All right. Turn on to the Bangladesh Expressway here. That's 5600. 5600, I think it's west. Gonna want that fast lane because we're gonna be merging on to, looks like I-15. To immediately get off it again, to start heading up into the mountains. All right. So here we come up on I-15. And we have this diverging diamond, which, by the way, I don't know if this one actually has this in real life. If this is 10600, which is South Jordan Expressway, that doesn't. Because yes, you got to remember, my wife is from Salt Lake, so yes, I've been here once before. Like I said, she gets mad at me because I don't call it 106, I call it 10600. Because I've always been the one where I read as I see it. I-80 towards Cheyenne. Later on, we're probably going to be pulling a lot of big loads like this once we start getting our own rig and we actually get one that's semi-decent for pulling bigger loads. More than likely, we'll probably have a rig or two. That way we can ensure that we can probably start a business. That way we can ensure that we have another person driving for us there. We can hire some contractors to do the work using the other rig. Yes, you need to downshift into a lower gear here. This hill is quite steep. So now practically after this, we'll have visited every state except for that borders Utah, with the exceptions of New Mexico and Arizona. Never been to New Mexico, been through Arizona on I-15 heading toward Vegas. Had a friend that got married outside of Cedar City. Got married in St. George over at the temple there, so that was interesting. That was an interesting day. I went to his wedding. That was fun. To his reception afterward, which was fun. And then, of course, on the way home, the car decided to break down, which really stunk. I had to have my parents come and bail me out of that mess. That was not the funnest thing to deal with. Oh, good, it's a yield sign. So we're just gonna coast right on up in through here. And since it's a yield, we can just jump right on in. We don't have to stop. All right. Now we got some downhill grade. We can use this to pick up some speed. Now we're seeing these guys don't have their truck set up with the proper transmission, with a decent transmission and a decent engine for towing. We won't have that right away ourselves, but we will get that in time. I mean, this mission is probably going to put us well over the 40,000, up into the 40K, which is about... don't do this to me, Tesla. Which town is this? Hey, we just passed through the Wasatch. Now we're heading into the next part of the Rockies here. Because yes, the Wasatch is part of the Rockies. It is the westernmost front in this part of Utah. And yeah, Nevada's full of mountains, like I've told you before. It's actually, Nevada is known for its mountains. Now see, that right there is wrong. I got docked for a guy being an idiot. And that's why in real life, guys, don't be in a hurry, because that guy there going to the hospital today. In real life, he's probably dead. His car got crushed. And I hit the power like an idiot. Oh, I could figure out the emergency flashers later, I'm sure. Alright, we got it moving again at least. Let's just take up both lanes. That's smart. Oh, this is US 40. Now, so US 40 still exists out in Utah and Nevada. This no longer exists. This used to be the highway that serviced Reno, but Interstate 80, when it went in in the 60s, changed all that. That's something they need to add in this game. They need to add animals. That way, you know, you splatter a deer, it ruins your truck. That would be funny. And that is the thing. Deer are some of the stupidest of animals. They see your headlights, they gotta stand there and stare. Or worse yet, they see you coming, and right as you come, they step right out in front of your car. That way you have to hit them. Finally up to 60 miles an hour. We're going to try to hold that because I think we could probably get away with this corner. It says 55. But I wouldn't be surprised if we can get away with, 5 or 10 over. Yeah. We're doing just fine getting away with 67. Set the cruise. Sorry, dude, but you're going to have to get out of my way. I believe we're still in Utah. We haven't quite left the state yet. So let's see here. Just check. We could check the map, but these mountains, not worth trying that on right now. Check the map real quick. Yeah, still in Utah. And since we stayed in the fast lane, we were able to go a little faster than we should have. Most of those trucks, some of them are actually coming this way. I'm sorry, dude, you're going to have to wait now because we nose goes. All right. Okay, so we're coming through this. We now just got through this town. We've got... Whoa, whoa, don't do that, you idiot. So this in real life, guys, what he just did, that's how people get rear-ended by semis. And you gotta remember, a semi is a lot heavier than your car. They'll crush you. And, they'll do that. They'll crush you and you won't even know what happened until it's too late. Getting up to 65 is not going to be easy. These trucks, in real life, they're the same way. They're slow, they're sluggish, and they don't always behave at getting up to speed. Yeah, this is going to be our last load. My timer is going to start ringing before we get there. Which means that we're going to call it right after this is done. Alright. Gotta be careful. We don't want to get sliced by this guy. Hopefully that guy stays put, which it looks like he's going to. Yeah, we'll stay in the slow lane because just in case there's people that do want to pass. But in this game, that's one of the things I've noticed is that the AI does not know how to do that. And this is what we're hoping not to run into. So it takes this truck quite a ways to get up to speed again. And then we hit a light that has no cars at it and is red. Oh, great. Well, now we're going to have to fight with that guy, I'm sure. Getting ready to run it. Hopefully that guy turns up there. Because, yeah, we will end up catching up to him. Wouldn't be surprised if we catch up to him, and then we got to deal with him being slow. And we want to go fast. Well, this truck hasn't pulled a whole lot. It's got 158,000 miles. It's very low. The engine still hasn't broken in, technically. Normally, these big semis go 1 million or 2 million miles easily before they need a overhaul or replacement. I mean, as long as the proper maintenance is taken into effect with these vehicles, they're 1 million mile engines. And if you think about it, they'd have to be, otherwise they wouldn't be the workhorses they are. This country would be more of a railroading country if the trucks didn't do what they're supposed to. All right. So the St. Simon, is that what that said? And this is definitely a town we're running into. This has got to be Vernal, which means we're almost through Utah. LDS Church. Yeah, it looks like that bus did get off. That's good. So we're almost into Colorado. Now the reason why we chose Utah is it's very central compared to California, Nevada, or any of the other states. Maybe very easy, very early on to get missions that go from Salt Lake City to Texas or from Salt Lake City to California. So when those missions start rolling up, that'd be a single mission episode instead of 2. Right now we can get away with 2 because honestly 400 miles is about 400 or 500 miles is the maximum distance that we can travel. Car zone. I kind of laugh when I see that logo because it looks exactly like one here in town where I live. It's not a chain or anything, so it's not like they have to worry about that. Okay, let's get pushing. We're up into the mid-50s now. Get out of the way. Good boy. As long as we don't have a way station that tries to nail us, we're good. It's still in Utah as far as I could tell. Oh, not anymore. Now we're in Colorado. And Colorado has, if you took the state and you leveled it out, it have one of the highest mean elevations in the country. And the reason for that's pretty simple. You know, Colorado's lowest point is only like 3,500 feet above sea level. Other states like Wyoming probably, I think, have it beaten a little bit or pretty darn close to because of that. But because Wyoming technically is all mountains, with its lowest point only being I think its lowest point somewhere right around 4,500 feet. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But yeah, Colorado, if you took it and you scraped it flat and kept all the dirt inside its borders, would have a mean elevation. It'd be an elevation of about 6,500 feet. And there's the timer telling me that this is the last mission. So when we do finish this one, we'll grab our perk and we'll save and wrap it up for the night. Come on. This is not that steep of a hill, truck. We're 72 miles from destination, hour and 26 minutes drive time in real life. And that's saying that we can get up to speed limit, which we can't. But yeah, Colorado, I've only been to Denver. Very beautiful area, very flat. I had a job interview out there as well when I was looking for my first job out of college. And I was really surprised. I was taken aback when I stepped in the airport and saw that they had tornado shelters, because out west we don't have that, because tornadoes don't really happen out west. And we don't have shelters for fires, and we don't have shelters for earthquakes either. You really can't plan for those types of things, honestly, because it's a lot harder to plan and build a structure that can survive an earthquake than something that can keep you safe from a tornado. But tornadoes do kill plenty of people a year. Earthquakes, usually when structures fail, you have a large loss of life. I mean, take for instance the Loma Prieta earthquake of 1989. Probably one of the most famous earthquakes in history, believe it or not. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the World Series was in session, the third game of the World Series, Battle of the Bays, where the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants were going head to head. They were at Candlestick Park when the earthquake hit right mid-game, right at the beginning of the game at 5:04 p.m. Oh, dude, I didn't think I was going to catch back up to you. Well, that turn we're probably not going to keep it up, though. We really lost a lot of momentum there. And I don't know if this is uphill or not. We are getting close to destination. Now, my wife, she lived in Colorado, she said, for a year, and she said never again. And I told her that well, you can't plan on that. You don't know where your work is going to take you once you graduate from college. All right. Come on, 50 miles an hour. This guy right here should be able to push us up. Probably going to lose a little bit on the hill. That looks like a power station right there. 22 miles. And of course, here's a light. Oh crap. Let him go. We need a turn here. Our destination's up there. How nice. Oh, this is 13 grand in the pocket. Which isn't too bad. 13,000 is a good chunk of change. It's not as much as it would be. It'd probably be 23 if it was our own truck that we're pulling it with, but we're not to that point yet. Getting close, though. Getting close. So it looks like it's a power station we're delivering this to or something, because we got these stacks over here. Now there's got to be some sort of electrical station. Okay, we are now coming in. Open the gate or I will ram it. That's what I feel like doing, but they're pretty good about opening it. Alright, let's see here. There's our target trigger. We're going to need to pull it through just a bit, come straight. Now we want to come up against and hug this building here. Now we're going to cut partially through the scale here. We're going to overshoot just a little bit. That way the trailer comes in right on the mark. And unzip it. Alright. Let's see if this got us 1 or 2 points. It should have gotten us at least 1. Yep. So we were going to knock one of these ones now. We'll apply it. We'll have a look at the job market before we go to bed. before we call it a night here. Let's see here. That's going to be 15,000. This will go from Vernal to Pocatello. That's not that far. Ogden to Casper, but yeah, see, we're starting to see the jobs pick up on the price. Well, guys, I am going to call it here. It was definitely a lot of fun, and I will see you all in the next episode, which hopefully won't be too far off. And I'm going to leave you with this here, that if you liked what you saw, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, I would much appreciate it if you subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. It tells me that I'm doing well. If there's anything I can improve on, let me know, and I'll see what I can do about that. Otherwise, this is MechE87